welcome back here again, everyone. There has been a lot of rumors going around in regards to DC Comics, and Wes from Thinking Critical has come up with some inside sources that he has gotten. The first one he talked about was that DC Comics, somebody in the accounting department, we told that the leadership is that's WB Discovery, all of them is looking at the accounting information for DC Comics, right? That's the first thing that was heavily criticized, that, they're looking at the accounting information now. DC Comics is going to have to account for why their sales are so terrible and all of this. But also now, he's come out and said that DC Comics has a new rumors come out, according to Wes from Thinking Critical. He got an inside source that DC Comics is being told to get their character Bibles ready because people want to take a look at it. So what does that mean? Well, this article here from Clownfish TV gives a little bit more information, and I'll go through exactly what it is that could mean for DC going forward. Rumor: DC Comics is getting ready to license out its comic books. DC Comics is reportedly being told to create character Bibles for their characters. Now, a character Bible is a document that outlines the do's and don'ts of company-owned IP and is often used as a guideline for licenses, right? Now, what that basically means in layman's is that there are certain things about a character that that you can do and certain things that you can't do, right? It literally boils down to being so meticulous that there are certain things where a character's eye color could never be changed. The colors associated with a character could never be changed. One notable thing is that Spider-Man, Peter Parker's character Bible basically says that he has to be a straight white male. That's why they never make changes. They decide to do things. They've come out and make all kind of different interpretations here and there, all kind of thing, like, they come out and they did the whole, Miles Morales. They're trying to make new characters around, but basically, Peter Parker has in his character Bible that he has to be a straight white male and cannot ever be changed. This is what it's talked about, right? Let's continue on. Could DC Comics be getting ready to license out its superhero comic books instead of publishing them in-house as they've done for over 80 years? There does seem to be mounting evidence that DC Comics is in for some major upheaval under Warner Brothers Discovery Company CEO David Zaslav has no problem cutting anything and everything that he doesn't think is going to make money. Yeah, and DC Comics has not been making money for the longest while. DC is not immune to these cuts. In fact, one of the highest profile cuts Zaslav has made was the cancellation of the $90 million Batgirl movie for HBO Max, which I still see was a terrible movie to even consider making in the first place, but that's the kind of nonsense they were doing. DC Comics being told to get character Bibles together. The latest rumor comes from comic book YouTuber Wes at Thinking Critical, who claims that DC Comics has been told to get character Bibles together. A character Bible is a document that outlines the do's and don'ts of Warner Brothers Discovery have directed the personnel at DC Comics to start creating character Bibles for all the characters. Why would you need a character Bible now? Wes asks. Is it because David Zaslav wants a more continuity among the characters, like a more baseline version of the characters, or is it something else? I'm guessing it's something else. Now let's take a moment here. If Tim Drake had a character Bible done with him, they say he has to be straight, he wouldn't have get nonsense like this. But they didn't do that, and throw away all that build up with him and Spoiler, decided to put him and whoever the hell this person, I don't even want to remember their name. Would Tim Drake have been made bisexual with the official character title Bible exclusively? Did he was straight? Probably not. That's the truth about it. This would be concerning on its own. But there is supporting evidence that DC Comics might be thinking about outsourcing its comic book production. Earlier in the month, Wes also reported that he'd heard DC Comics was being told to turn over all sales and accounting data to Warner Brothers Discovery Management, which would indicate that they are taking a good hard look at DC Comics' bottom line. supporting even the DC Comics expenses are already being cut into the publisher, not having a booth at this year's San Diego Comic Con. Yeah, they had no booth. And also, their DC fandom event has been cancelled. And DC Comics editorial being ousted from their posh office in Burbank to a new hot desk arrangement. That's basically, they were sent out of their offices. They're no longer in their office, and they go to some kind of small little startup thing that they have there. It's pretty clear that there are changes that are coming and people are not being profitable when it comes to DC Comics. Now, there was some talk a few years back about DC licensing out their characters so other people or other companies could, write stories about these characters. But at the time, they were saying that, it was too expensive to buy the rights for these characters. But now, at the point that they are at, David Zaslav may very well be saying, best to cut his losses and done. Because I've said this before, I'll say it again. You want to save money at DC Comics, fire everybody there. They are literally doing nothing at all. I mean, they could literally call Jim Lee into the office and be like, so Jim, listen, how do you think it would work out for DC Comics if we paid you to stay home? We just paid you to be basically the figurehead and say, okay, Jim Lee is here, but basically everything you've been doing is terrible. And we want to fire you, but that may cause a problem. So we're looking to pay you to stay home while somebody else comes in and actually makes these comics better. Because you've been doing a shit poor job. But we don't want to get rid of you right away. So would you be willing to enter into a arrangement where we basically pay you to stay home? And as for the other writers, we're just going to fire all of them because they're terrible. They're terrible, and we're going to fire their asses and probably get better writers who actually care about these products. But we want to pay you to stay home. That is literally the point it could reach to. That's literally the point it can reach to. Is DC Comics desperate for new revenue? According to Thinking Critical, Warner Brothers Discovery was demanding that DC turn over the historical sales data of the company from the past few decades to analyze trends. Earlier this week, it was suddenly announced that DC Comics had added another distributor, Universal Distribution, in an effort to increase the distribution efforts. Could Zaslav have lit a fire on the DC Comics executives to increase sales or else? I don't know what they're going to do. The only way you could really increase sales is if you stop doing the kind of shit you've been doing that causing it to go downhill. Now, comic book legend, Image Comics co-founder and toy company entrepreneur Todd McFarlane might be a potential candidate to take over on the DC Comics license should Warner Brothers Discovery decide it's no longer worth producing comic books in-house. McFarlane's notion of DC Comics, having worked on DC Comics including Batman in the past. In fact, he's getting ready to launch another Batman Spawn crossover book, and it's hoping it'll be the comic book event of the century. This is a big thing they're talking about with Batman and Spawn crossover. And Todd McFarlane has been doing something. Now he has the money what he's doing. He become very famous doing even with the toy line and everything. McFarlane's toy company is currently producing a line of DC Comics action figures called Page Punchers, which include a pack-in comic book that Todd McFarlane Productions is overseeing. Could this be the test to see how McFarlane and company would handle DC characters if granted the license? No, they used to do it. They used to do this here before, where they used to get a comic book and a toy in the pack. You stop doing it and you're getting the toy, but these action figures don't look bad. Even get a little lightning on it and all this sort of stuff here, right? According to rumors by other YouTubers, including former DC artist Ethan Van Sciver, a group of wealthy comic book fans had approached DC Comics about the license while it was still owned by AT&T. The word that group included Walking Dead creator Robert Kirkman, whose Skybound Entertainment is in talks to acquire the Transformers and G.I. Joe licenses from Hasbro. West from Thinking Critical claims that the asking price for the DC Comics license under AT&T was astronomical, right? Yes, I heard that. But the Warner Brothers Discovery could be much more reasonable as they're open to offloading projects and IP that aren't central to their business. In fact, it's being said they're actively shopping around previously greenlit projects to their competitors, like the Batman animated series, to recoup some expenses. Movie based on DC Comics characters are extremely important to David Zaslav. The actual comic books are not. It's no stretch at all to imagine Warner Brothers Discovery making the decision to view DC Comics and the DC superheroes as movie and television IP first, and to license out comic book production to a company like Dark Horse, whatever. But you see, that's one of the problems. When you start looking at these characters as movie potentials and not as comic books, this is where the problems are, because comic books are where the characters grow from. And if you keep letting it slide downhill, it's only going to keep getting worse. But basically, that's the information that we have. It look like character Bibles are being put together, because DC Comics may very well be looking to outsource to everybody and not have to deal with any of this crap anymore. Because if David Zaslav, and them decide to cut it, I wouldn't be shocked. Said it before, I say it again, when it comes to DC Comics, fire everybody there and just completely nuke the entire universe and be done with it. If you have to do a hard reset, do a hard reset, but it must be done in a way that shows that you actually care about these characters. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. If you have a different opinion, I'd love to hear it. If you like the video, be sure to hit that thumbs up, subscribe if you haven't already, ring the notification bell to be notified every time I put out a new video. And I shall see you all next time. Take care.